Hello there everyone, it's Carrie, and I wasn't expecting to do this video, but I have decided to actually move my best books of 2020 list over to my main channel. What better way to fill that gap in this channel but to do its opposite? So I'm going to be talking about the worst books, in my opinion, that I read in 2020. And full disclaimer, I'm not like a professional reviewer. These are simply books that I personally didn't enjoy. I'm not going to go really deep into the reasons why. They were just ones that I didn't super like. And a lot of my favorite books have people who didn't like them, and I cannot understand why. So if your favorite book is on this list, don't feel offended. It just means that we have slightly different taste, and that is a-okay. So, let's just dive in. Number one, we're gonna start off strong, get this rant out of the way. After by Todd. So yes, I did actually read the published version because I thought maybe it could be different from this fan fiction. If you want to understand why I even touched this book, you can watch my ranking bad boys video, one of my first videos I have ever made. It was exactly the same as what was posted on Wattpad or wherever it was. So the book actually started out as a Harry Styles fan fiction, but it became such a sensation that she got a publishing deal as well as a multiple movie deal. We basically follow a girl named Tessa, who is your textbook good girl. She is going away to her first year of college, and all she wants to do is read her classic literature, take really good notes and study, and call her also like goody two-shoes perfect boyfriend, who is now a senior in high school, so he's not in college yet. And everything is going great until she meets her roommate's friend, who is a textbook bad boy. And he is this moody, snarky British boy who has tattoos, and like immediately, first words to Tessa, he is just rude, like insulting her basically. As the story progresses, as it does, good girl falls for bad boy. The beginning bit annoyed me, but it didn't bother me because it felt like a very typical toxic college relationship until there is this point at the end where a secret is revealed. And this is actually why I read the actual published version, because I needed to know if she changed it or not. She didn't, and I can't understand how these editors let it be published. Like, the thing that happens is so disgusting and so horrifying. There are multiple books in this series. I think there's like 5 books in the series. So obviously this issue that happens is forgiven, and I cannot, I'm still so angry about it. I read this in like the spring, so it has stuck with me for almost a year, and I am viciously angry. I read the second book to just see like, how does this get resolved? How do we get over this horrific thing that happens? And what transpires is the most, honestly, abusive, toxic relationship. I had to stop reading it because I was getting like physically sick. So much of the audience, because it was a specifically One Direction fan fiction, a lot of the audience are young girls who have not been in a serious relationship before, and I just it's literally like glorifying abuse, and I am so angry at it. I'm so angry. So yeah, after and then the second one is all I could read. Petrifying, horrifying, glorifying abuse, not cool, absolutely my least favorite book of 2020, starting off strong. Had to get that out of the way so that I can be more calm and collected to talk about the rest. All right, cool. Next up is a book I honestly almost forgot that I read, and it is Conversations with Friends by Rooney. And I have heard that most people prefer her book Normal People, so I'm not gonna write off Sally Rooney. I just personally really didn't like Conversations with Friends. Full disclaimer, again, this whole video is just my opinion. I don't really like contemporary, that genre. It's confusing to call anything contemporary. So a huge portion of it could just be that I don't really like that genre, but I also wasn't super into her writing style. The book is essentially about two best friends that used to be lovers as well, Frances and Bobby, and now they are spoken word poets. And at one of their events, this woman approaches them who is also a writer, and they start forming this weird friendship. And I think the author, Melissa, I think she is going to be writing about them, if I remember that correctly. But anyway, as the friendship grows, they start hanging out at Melissa's house with Melissa's hot actor husband, Nick. And Frances and Nick start this affair that they're obviously hiding from the wife, but she's also hiding from her best friend Bobby. And it just goes from there. And I just didn't love it. Like, none of the characters were really likable. Her writing style, I actually couldn't put my finger on why I didn't like her writing style, but I read a review that mentioned that her writing, especially when it came to emotions, was really vague. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, there were times where she would talk about something like kind of monumental that happened, and she would just be like, that made me sad. Or something. It was, her writing style is quite static. Not only did I not connect with the characters, but like the actual feelings that they were having, I just couldn't feel any of them. The conclusion, everything about it, I was just kind of like, why? I didn't really get anything from the book. So I will still give Normal People a try, but for as much as Sally Rooney was kind of hyped up, I was quite let down by Conversations with Friends. Okay, this one I'm worried to talk about because I know that a lot of people really like this book, and I'm so sorry. But I've mentioned it before. The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I tried reading the Goodreads summary of this book to help explain the plot, and I still got nowhere. So I genuinely don't know what happened in this book. I know that I didn't finish it to the very, very end, because I was just so lost. But basically what's going on is we learn about this place that is kind of underground, and it's just filled with rooms. It's very dark, and there are just stories. And there are like these silent acolytes that are there to protect the stories and stuff like that. And then we also come to the real world and we meet Zachary, who, like many of us, would rather he live in a story. He never really feels like this reality is fit for him, you know. Things transpire, which leads him to this magical realm of stories. And he basically goes on an adventure from there. For the life of me, I just couldn't get into it because I was so confused. And I've mentioned this before with The Night Circus. The thing about Erin Morgenstern's writing is that she creates, her imagination is just beautiful. Like the things that the scenes that she can create, the imagery that she writes is stunning. I can't, like, it's, especially with The Night Circus, like she would just come up with these scenes that were beautiful. Like my brain loved reading them. But when it came to a plot, she's so weak. Like she puts so much of this beauty onto the page, and then she just kind of I feel like the plot comes second. I've said this before, but her writing reminds me kind of a Pinterest aesthetic board. I just wish she liked plots more because I love the worlds that she puts into my brain, but it's literally just space. There's no actual thing happening. And at least with The Night Circus, there was some kind of semblance of a plot, but with The Starless Sea, I don't know what happened. Sorry, we had a visitor. Definitely, if you're gonna try her writing, I would definitely read The Night Circus instead. And yeah, that's my hot take on the Starless Sea. This one's gonna be real quick because it is a self-help book, which I normally don't like anyway, but this one just really bothered me, and I've seen so many people talk about it, so maybe I'm just missing it. And if you like this book, please let me know why down below. But I want to talk about The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And I read 90% of it, I would say, and it just sounded like it was written by the rich white Catholic school boys that I went to college with. The author's voice just felt really, I don't know, like he thought this was all really groundbreaking, but what it was just him saying fuck a lot. I was so turned off by the writer's tone, I guess, that I just couldn't get into it, and it made me feel, instead of it being self-help, it was more of like talking about other people. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but yeah, I'm just throwing that in there really quickly. I was expecting something profound based on how many people talked about it and how many people loved this book, but I was really turned off. So if you liked it, please let me know down below why. And if you didn't, I've heard very few people say that they didn't, so please tell me that I'm not crazy in the comments. So yeah, that's just quick little blurb about my self-help. Okay. And last but not least on my list is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. And I was honestly considering putting Spinning Silver on here as well. But to be honest, I can't for the life of me remember a single thing about Spinning Silver. I know that I usually forget plots, but I usually have like something left in there. But Spinning Silver left me with so little. I literally cannot remember the plot. But with Uprooted, it rubbed me the wrong way enough that it stuck with me until this point. So let's talk about it. Uprooted is about a girl named Agnieszka who lives in a little village that is guarded by this wizard that they just call the dragon because he lives in this big old tower. And they don't see much of him, but every 10 years he comes down to the village and he takes one of the prettiest, best girls, and he just takes her away to his tower for 10 years. And that's like payment for him looking over the village, because there's like this evil old magical forest surrounding them that he protects them from. No spoilers here, but Agnieszka gets picked, and the story basically begins with her getting used to this terrifying tower where she is known to be very scared of the dragon, and she kind of has to be his maid, I guess. And she has this thing where she's really clumsy and she gets really dirty really easily. So a huge part of the beginning of the book is her having to like bring him his meals in the library every day. And the second she enters, he's like, oh, you're disgusting and dirty. And he has to like magic her clean. So that happens a lot. Like that's part of their routine for a very long time. So we just have to read over and over him being like, ugh, clean. Ugh, clean. Obviously, there's a little bit of romance that sparks. Obviously, there's something that happens with magic in the forest, all that stuff. But the thing that kind of irked me the most is that the author, every time she could, would mention how the dragon is immortal and super old, and Agnieszka is a young teenage girl. There are many stories in fantasy where one or both of the love interests are immortal and super old. It's usually mentioned like a handful of times in a couple key moments, and usually it's them like, I don't know, talking about it as one would, thinking about the fact that that's kind of weird. But in this book, I felt like anytime they were about to get flirtatious or intimate or anything, the author would just write in like, oh my God, but wait, he's 1,000,000 years old. So like you couldn't not think about it. She would always be like, by the way, he's super duper old and crusty and she's super young. And I was like, Naomi, girl, I don't want to hear this every single time. So it just made me feel really icky whenever there was a romantic scene. Another thing that happened is that probably halfway through the book, it hit this point where I thought it was supposed to end. I was honestly shocked that there was so much more book left. So I kept reading and it almost felt like another plot unfolded. And so I was just confused and honestly kind of done with the story at that point. And I wasn't interested in it veering off into this whole other story. Probably like 3/4 of the way through, I started skimming because I was just like, what is this extra stuff? That being said, Naomi Novik knows how to write a fairy tale. Like the way that she created the world, she wrote it, like her words felt like it was an old-time fairy tale. So that's why I think I read a lot of like bad books this year, but I felt kind of just betrayed by this particular book because I wanted to like it, because the beginning bit set me up for this beautiful fairy tale. Her writing is good, but then she just like chooses things to focus on that I'm like, why? Obviously, I still liked her writing enough to give Spinning Silver a try, and I know she has another book that just came out, and I would be willing to give it a try. Like, again, I liked her writing, and I so desperately want to like her books, so I would never completely write her off. Definitely read it. I know some people really loved it, but for me, it was just like uncomfy. There were a lot of uncomfy bits that I didn't love. I think that is it for the books that I chose. I think for me, more than books being bad, I hate books that are a disappointment. So other than After was just, After just pisses me off, honestly. But yeah, these other books, like I'm still very willing, other than The Subtle Art of Giving a Fuck, I'm willing to give all the other authors another try. Even Erin Morgenstern, still down for it. Make beautiful things happen in my brain. I love it. So anyway, those were my kind of worst books or my letdown books of 2020. And let me know your feelings. What was a book that let you down? Anything like that this year? And if you want to see my best books of 2020, please check my main channel. I will link it here. I will link it down below. All that stuff. Cool. I will catch you guys next time. If it isn't up yet, it will be up next week, by the way. So if you're watching this and my best books isn't up yet, please be patient. Please be patient. I will catch you guys later. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy New Year. How exciting. 2021. Let's see what this year holds. I'll catch you then. Okay, bye.